Hey, good afternoon. Samantha from TOTLbill here, and I made this podcast today to talk to you a little bit about the easiest way to increase your bottom line if you're a provider or a healthcare practitioner, and what is the easiest way to do it? Hiring the right medical biller. And everyone asks the same question: how do I know? What are things that I can look for to make sure I'm hiring the right person for the job? So that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. 10 things to look for when you're hiring a medical biller that's really going to change your practice for the best. So a lot of providers tell me that they feel like they work too much, but they're just not making enough money. And when I dig deeper into their reports, it's often like a way of seeing them almost like through an x-ray. I can see right through to their entire practice through their reports. And it tells me things are easily fixable with the right biller. Things like having outstanding accounts receivable, it's avoidable. Collect at the time of service. A good biller would tell you that the best thing you could do for your practice is to learn the patient's responsibility and collect it right at the time of service. And that way, the remainder of money you get from the insurance company, the patient's part is done. And if you forget or you miss a copay, a good biller would immediately tell you as soon as that remit processes, hey, patient has a copay, you missed it, what are we doing? Or they would immediately send out an invoice electronically to the patient. And you'll appreciate that because that means you're not sending statements down the road, you don't have months and months of AR backed up. So what are 10 things to look for when choosing the right medical biller for your private practice, whether you're starting out or you want to make a change? Number one, you want a good communicator. So make sure you have someone that has multiple avenues to reach them. You can email them, call them. If they have texting, that's great. In our business, we also offer portal communication through the provider's EMR and through our software. So I guess there's actually 5 ways to communicate. So you'll want to look for that in a good biller. Avoid billers that use paper to communicate. That's number 2. Paper means you're increasing the risk of data entry errors. So share things like demographics, charges, posting payments, all through a portal or through some sort of integration. But let's not do that through paper. Through scanning, faxing. It's the worst way to do it. Portals are the best way to do it. EMRs, communicating through that sort of range, or integration is really the best. Number 3, that they have affordable rates based on industry standards. So you can certainly look that up and find out what you think the rate should be in your region. But for the most part, they really range. Like it could be 1.5%. It could be all the way up to 10%. Of the income, the revenue that the provider brings in. It also could be per claim, and it could go from $4 a claim to $7 a claim. It really just depends on what the biller is doing for you, the package that they're offering. Number 4, having great software. Make sure your provider has good software they're working with. Lots of people tell me they work with a biller, and I find out by looking at the reports that the biller is using a free software and they're just starting out, which there's nothing wrong with that for a biller just starting out, getting their feet wet, especially if you want to work with them and they want to work with you. I totally support supporting each other locally like that. However, when you're just starting out, it's really a good idea, especially if you're looking to grow your practice and you don't have a lot of experience with getting referrals and things like that. It's a really good idea to work with a provider that has a good, robust software, someone that's already up to date, not somebody that you have to encourage to get to that place. So that's number 4. Number 5, a patient portal. So working with a medical biller that has an EMR or a software that comes with a patient portal for your clients to pay is huge, because then, at least in our business, we send invoices electronically to our clients' patients via text and email, both. And it could come as weekly reminders versus monthly. So if the patients put it down and forget to pay the bill, they'll get a reminder next week versus waiting a whole month, which means you're not waiting as long to get your money. Also, text and email is so much easier than getting something in the mail that sits on somebody's table for weeks on end. Like I'm not really embarrassed to say, because I fit with a norm probably, that I have mail that if it's not important or urgent, it sits on my desk for like 7 to 8 weeks to open it. So don't work with a biller that uses paper in that way, because you're never going to see your money like that. All right. So number 6, shop around. So don't choose a biller just because they're local to you or you don't know anyone else. Talk to other providers in your area and ask about their experiences, because So often I see providers who just pick someone because they thought that was the only person they had as an option. And all those years, they lost thousands of dollars and it wasn't necessary. Had they just asked around, they would have seen that their colleague right next door to them had an incredible biller, robust software, electronic statements, all the good stuff. And they missed out just because they were hesitant to make the change because they were committed, for example. That's a really common one that I get. I'm just hesitant. I'm nervous. So shop around. It's really worthwhile in the end. Number 7, make sure your biller manages patient inquiries in some way. So whether or not they're taking calls from the patient, that's really unlikely. You'll find a biller that takes billing service that takes calls from a patient directly, unless they house a patient inquiry department. But have a biller that's willing to answer patient questions in some format, email, text message, voice call, whatever. Because so oftentimes people will tell me, I'll say, why didn't you collect on that? Well, I didn't really know. I didn't feel right billing the patient because I didn't know why they had the patient responsibility and my biller wouldn't tell me, or my biller didn't explain it in a way I understood it. So I just didn't collect it. Like, that's the worst. Now you lost money for a service you provided all because your biller wasn't suitable or up to the task. Come on now. So number 7, make sure your biller manages patient inquiries in some way. All right, number 8 of 10, we're getting down to the wire here. Make sure your biller gets ERAs, so electronic remittance advices. Make sure your biller gets those in some way. You shouldn't be getting paper EOBs. An EOB is an explanation of benefits. You shouldn't be getting those in the mail for a majority of your payers. A majority of your insurance payers should have a clearinghouse they utilize to get information from the payer to you. So that way it can go right into your software, right into their software, and you don't have to worry about getting paper in the mail that you have to scan or take a picture of or fax or whatever to get to the biller and make sure that they get it. It's all more work for you to open up the mail. I mean, all the time that you spend doing that, it's incredible. You could be on your way home by that time. So make sure your biller gets electronic remits so it saves you all that time. Number 9, make sure your biller sends out claims regularly. So daily, every couple of days is good too, but at least every couple of days at worst. At best, daily or every other day is the best. But I have a lot of people that when I start with them, they tell me that the person they work with sent out claims once a week or once every week and a half or once every 2 weeks. And that's horrible because that means now the claim still has a week or two to process in the insurance company before you even know anything's wrong with it. And you waited a week and a half to send it. So now you've waited almost a month's time to find out that patient doesn't have coverage or there's a demographic error where that could have all been avoided if we had sent out the claim on time. And this actually comes back to number 4, having a robust software, because a biller that has a robust software will have a robust scrubber internally to scrub out the claim for any errors and bounce it back to the biller with any errors that come across it, and work with a robust clearinghouse, because a clearinghouse also has a scrubber that will scrub it based on what the insurance payer wants to see and then kick it back to the software of the biller to tell them something is wrong with the claim. And that catches the mistake a ton sooner than it would if, let's say, the biller you work with sends out paper claims. I shudder at the thought. Because then it takes a really long time. So make sure your biller sends out claims every day or every couple days at the very worst, and that they're electronically sent whenever possible. Even workers' comp, we have means to do that electronically via fax, via portal, via internet fax, or there's internet portals and workers' comp portals. There's so many ways to send claims out and avoid sending them paper, unless, of course, it's one of these third world insurance payers. They're small, and that's the only way they accept them. We can't do anything about those. But for the most part, asking the right questions, a biller will find out that typically there's always a way to send out a claim electronically. All right, and then number 10, this maybe should be number 1. They're not in order of importance, but make sure your biller has automatic eligibility verification checks to know that all the information you provide them is correct. And this will ensure that every claim goes out clean with no data entry errors every time. So when my clients give me demographic information, I put it in my system, and the very first time, the information is always verified through the insurance verification check that I do. And I immediately can tell if something's wrong. I can tell if the name is incorrect. I can tell if the date of birth's not right. I can tell if the ID number they gave me is faulty, whatever. All of those things are a quick automatic eligibility verification check built right into the software. And that way we know without a shadow of a doubt that claim is going to go out clean, and that increases the likelihood tenfold that it's going to get paid. There's not going to be any issues. It's an active plan. The practitioner's in network, out of network, etc. So that is so, so, so important. Always make sure that if you hire a biller, that they tell you they check the eligibility verification, the insurance right away, right before that claim is sent out the door. If you have a biller that tells you you should do that, I'm not saying that's a bad thing because they're giving you good, solid information, but then I would wonder why their system doesn't offer that feature. So it's a really important step in making sure that you get paid in a timely fashion to have a eligibility verification check done before the first claim is sent out. So if you're listening today and you realize you don't have all of these things, you don't have the most amazing biller, then, well, aside from calling me, you need to make a change because you're losing money and this is a way to increase your bottom line. So don't wait any longer and make the leap that so many providers have made to have more money in their pocket and more time for play. All right, I'm Samantha from TOTLbill. It was really great talking with you guys today. I hope this was helpful. Feel free to visit my Facebook page. My website is www.totlbill.com, www.totlbill.com, and I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn as well. I'll talk to you guys soon.